Welcome, everybody, to Where's Your Focus podcast. I am Linda.
And I'm Karen. Hi.
Today, we are talking about mandalas and chanting. But before we get started, Karen, what's going on with the Schumann resonance? Wasn't it there like yesterday, the day before, there was a big surge or something, wasn't there?
Well, there's some strange things happening. I'll start with heart math. Heart math is the one that has this 2 days behind, right? So everything that they are showing today was from 2 days ago, and there's 7 places. There's not a whole lot of difference there. The only thing is Alberta. The power in Alberta went up to 195.5 on March the 18th. So that's the highest I've ever seen Alberta. It's back down again to 87 now, but still the high last week wasn't even at 87. So there's a big difference there. South Africa, the one that was flat, that one's always been really high. So it's high again this week. But those, from the 17th of our last show to now, it's pretty much been the same thing. It's just that wave, and we only get that one number, so we don't see a whole lot, right? But when you look at the disclosure, what is it called? Disclosurenews.it. That's in Italy and Russia. And that's where I spent a bit of time today. And I don't know if you remember last week that there was a blackout on the 18th. Sorry, not the 18th, on the 6th. We talk about the last blackout was on the 6th, which was a couple of weeks ago, and it was for 18 hours. Now, what was interesting was we talked last week about that magnetosphere event that happened. Do you remember? And how that James Kaufman had said that NASA was pulling the information, and whatever was happening, there was sections being removed from the solar wind.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening now is people are wondering if the same thing is not happening with the Schumann's resonance, right? But it's different people that are doing those charts. So I don't think, well, I mean, NASA could be involved, but that's getting into a whole other thing, right? So we don't know what's happening. The only thing I do know, and I did a little bit more checking today, there's in that Italy, disclosurenews.it, they have 4 monitors. Now, I thought there was only 3, but there's 4 monitors according to what I read today. And guys, there's a lot of stuff happening there, so you might want to go in and read it yourself. But from what I read was there's 3 charts. They have the amplitude, the quality, and the frequency. But they have 4 different readings from each one, or at least from the quality and the frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. And on the 18th of March, there was a blackout of 4 hours. And the quality chart, one of the quality charts, I believe it might have been quality 4, that reached a power of 260. On the 19th, it went back calm again. On the 21st, which was the spring equinox, right? The frequency was what changed. It went on a rise from up to 8.4. And then it stabilized again, but the quality 4 on the 22nd is what was driving the frequency, what was driving, not the frequency, because a lot of times what happens is the amplitude is calculated by the quality or the frequency or both. Okay, so if there's a lot of fluctuations in the frequency, then that's going to change the amplitude.
Right.
Okay, so normally, or according to what I read, it's usually the frequency that makes that change. But according to what happened on the 22nd, the frequency was stable. Okay, so the frequency was stable, and quality 4 went up and hit 490 power. Okay. So that was what made the big surge, right? But at the same time, there was also a frequency surge that went up, and I think it was frequency 4 that went up to 28.6 hertz. So the frequency is what's put together, what's put together to make the Schumann's resonance, right? Resonance. So yeah, it's a little crazy. And now today we were at a power of 39. Then we went into a blackout for 6 hours. And when it came back on, it was a power of 32, which is now, last I checked, was at 12:15, went to a power of 35. And all you see on the screen is white. So that means that there's energy coming in, right?
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I would recommend going on to, onto the Schumann's Resonance, either on Facebook. You won't see as much on Facebook, I guess, but if you go on the disclosurenews.it site itself and have a look, they do write-ups as to what's happened daily. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 write-ups a day, right? So it's quite interesting. I still would love to have somebody who could come on and really explain it out well, right?
Yeah.
Because we know so much about it, but I mean, let's face it, we're not specialists in this area for sure.
Well,
So
and
we're just
we're
taking
paying
the reading.
exactly. We're paying attention to it because it is the magnetic pull of the planet, and it is
Exactly.
rising. The vibrations of the planet is rising, and that's what's happening as a whole, is we're rising in our ascension. So
Yeah.
that's why we pay attention to it. But yes, we are definitely not experts in this area at all.
No,
And
no, for sure. And recently it's not really been rising, it's been fluctuating, but it hasn't really gone up more than 8.6, right? Which, probably we couldn't handle it to be high at any length of time right now anyway.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's what's happening there. What's going on with the moon?
Well, it's funny. So have you been paying attention to what's been happening with you and what I'm saying about the moon? And
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
are you seeing any correlations?
Um, I think so. I think more than what I would have realized
Hmm.
before. So I'm curious to find out what you're going to say today.
So on the equinox, we switched from Gemini into Cancer.
Okay.
So the Gemini, I talked about it last week, was, this very intellectual time. You're able to process a lot of information and learn very quickly. And I went through a big learning there, and then it switched right over on the Saturday, where it's on the Cancer. It turns into family harmony, kind of turning into that homeward, but accomplishing a lot in the home.
Okay.
Okay, so and then it could be home developments even, but it's also a time that for the last 3 days, which we switched to Leo yesterday, but halfway through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we were in the Cancer. And so you may have found you were a little bit more efficient in mathematical, logical thinking.
Okay.
And again, really focused in the home, a lot of harmony with the family, like very family focused. That's the Cancer moon this phase, because it all depends on the other planets too that are actually influencing the moon at the same time. So then we went into Leo yesterday. So now we're in a much more outgoing phase. So we're able to really communicate a little more clearly, connect with more people, be able to develop more community kind of idea. But it's really a time for you to shine, is what it was
Okay.
really talking about. And it really does depend on where you are in your own self, how you're going to react to these cycles, right? Because if you're developed enough, you can connect with that energy. If you're not, it may challenge you to learn something about
Mhm.
yourself in that phase. And then you may see a teacher side coming more dominant. So if you are a teacher working on class planning for the next couple of days, may be a good idea. You might have a lot of ideas and flows in that area. And success, love, and balance overall is pretty much what we're doing for the next couple of days. Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow at 10:23 p.m. So in the evening, we're switching into Virgo. And in the
Okay.
Virgo, we're going into a much more analytical phase. So we'll be doing a lot more analyzing, maybe on the outside world, on the inside world, whatever kind of analyzing that we need. It may be a time where we feel driven to organize something in our space. Um, uh, and maybe a little bit of a critical time as well. We might be a little bit more critical at that time. And that will take us into Saturday. So early Saturday morning, we switch into Libra, but we'll talk about that next week.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Perfect. Nice. Okay, so today we are talking about okay. So we call it I don't even know what we call it anymore, but we always call it mandalas, right?
Mandalas,
Well, I learned this week that it's pronounced mandala.
Mandal. That's right.
Mandala. So you're going to hear all kinds of pronunciations today because you know how hard it is once you're used to saying something one way to change it to another way, right? So mandalas. We're going to talk about mandalas, what they are, and or mandalas, what they are, and also chanting. We're doing two focuses today, so it's going to be a fun-packed show today. So we're going to talk about what they are. We're going to touch a little bit on the history of both and then how they're used in spiritual development. So I don't know if we have anyone on, Linda. I don't see
Yeah,
if we have anyone on or not.
we got 5 people watching.
Hey?
We got
Oh,
5.
nice. Okay. So if you guys have any questions or you have any comments, I have got my comments up. Linda's got the comments up, so we're able to look at them right away. If you enjoy what you're watching, please share it out. And yeah, and we'll get into what a mandala is.
That's right. So mandalas, we can see them starting to be predominantly used in religious aspects around 5 or 600 AD. And mostly it starts off mostly in the Buddhist tradition, but it really took off in Hinduism. And so the word, oh, hi, Christy. So the word Sanskrit, the word in Sanskrit in Hinduism for mandalas, mandalas, right?
Mandalas, yeah. We might
Means
get it right by the end of the show.
that's right, that's right. Means a circle or a completion. And you'll see a lot of the practices of healing, different types of healing, what they do at the end of the session is they'll get you to draw a mandala, a mandala. And this will help to anchor your healing session, and you take it with you and it subconsciously triggers that healing as you look at it. So we're going to go through all the different types of ways you can use a mandala to, invoke so many different things. And we can also see the ways that they've used mandalas in different cultures to explain their healing methods too. You can see it in the I Ching, you can see it in the medicine wheel, and you see like a lot of Buddhism. You can see it in the Mayan calendars, and actually there was a very large, and I came across this when I was doing a little bit of extra research last night in Mexico. When you're really up high, you can see a mandala shaped in a mud form
Oh,
in
wow.
the ground. And
Wow.
there's one big one, and then there's like 4 little ones that surround, that protect the openings of the mandala, and it's a labyrinth. So,
Right.
and that's another great way that they use mandalas to trigger different types of healings is by putting in a labyrinth in the mandala. The
Right.
mandala.
The mandala. Mandala, yeah. And so a lot of times in the Buddhism, when it started, when it took off, um, they're circles. Basically they're circles that are enclosed by a square a lot of times, but usually there are a series of circles, right? And the middle one, a lot of time in Buddhism, they're using symbolic forms like architectural images like Buddhas or whatever, right? And they have a middle one, and then they have the four. So there's at least 5 symbolic forms in the regular Buddhist mandala, right? So, and what they say is that the center is what represents reality, and the 4 other sections represent the 4 principles, the 4 principal aspects of reality. So it's like 4 gateways or 4 different directions. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And it's something that we can see, like, even by finding those old structures in Mexico, that was before even when it was used for the Buddhism, right? So it's a very
Exactly.
old healing technique that they've been using that's just been lost knowledge. But it's interesting because in the 1700s, you can like Carl Jung, and I came across this in my research too. Carl Jung, he used it a lot in his practice, and he would, after every session, get his clients to draw mandala to, match the healing that they'd done. But he himself drew mandalas every morning when he woke up.
Wow.
Yes, and he claimed that that was one of the biggest jumps in healing that he did when he worked on his mandala.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Have you ever drawn one, Linda? Have you ever done one yourself?
And it's funny because I did one when I was a teenager,
Okay.
and I kept that one on my door for the longest time. And I used very specific colors. I remember this being such a big deal for me, and the shapes that I used and the colors that I used would kind of like make it jump out almost like 3D and stuff. Um,
Right.
but I mean, I was very artistic, right? Like at a very young age, and both me and a very good friend of mine were, and we did them together.
Nice. Nice.
But then learning about this, I'm like, wow, I was using the mandala to create a positive energy flow going into my room.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I've never drawn one. I should really try, just for the sake of trying, right? It's not something that I was ever drawn to, I don't think, but doing the research now and looking more into it, it's a little bit more interesting.
It really is.
Yeah.
We did one in class today.
Oh, okay. You mean you
I
and
did one
Ella?
by myself because the girls were like, "Oh, we want to do tie dye." So I did one by myself, and they had to
Mm,
have a pig. They told me I had to have a pig in it. So it's got a pig in the center, and then it's a
okay. So
uh,
what's the purpose of having the pig? Just something that the girls said, or
yeah.
oh,
Well, we were painting. We were doing dragon eyes. And while we
oh,
were waiting for the canvas to dry before we could do it with chalk on top of the black or whatever, we had to do another art project. So they did a little bit of tie-dye toots and I did a mandala.
oh, nice,
So,
nice.
but yes, they love it. But you can
So
see mandalas. So in Christianity, the stained glass, they use a lot of circles, and it has different shapes and stuff. And sometimes you'll see Mother Mary in the center, or Jesus, or some of these angels. And that's also a mandala.
absolutely, absolutely. A lot of times you'll see, like in the Catholic religion, because I was raised Catholic, and we had a big old wooden church. It was 100 years old, and the windows were stained glass, right? And they were all different. Oh, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm
So
sure for them too, the thinking was the light coming through the different colors and the shapes in the circle all had different meanings to it, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So, oh,
interesting.
sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, just so interesting. I said that's good. Go ahead.
It is. And we can see it in the Aztec stone mandalas discovered in the 1790s. That's the Mayan calendar. That is also a mandala, and that was one of the ways that many of these old cultures would use the mandala circle to build their calendar. Um, and
Right.
and also, like you had mentioned, astrology is also that circle to, portray the energy of the astrology. But yeah, and then also in Persian art, it's a very common thing to find the circle and the mandala and the different
Mm,
shapes. And they also use sacred geometry in it,
yes.
right? And the geometric shapes, when you start to look into that, which is a whole other topic, each shape to the subconscious mind has a very specific meaning.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Really, really cool. Really
Yeah,
cool.
it
Yeah.
is really cool.
So the mandalas and what they can actually do for us then.
Mhm.
They definitely, like you said, your room shifted that energy, right?
That's
As
right.
going into your room. So that's a big thing. Shifting the energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you create the mandala, because you create it in a very pure state, and they say that when you're creating a mandala and from the mind, you're actually creating a vision into the universe. So it has this very symbolic deep meaning to the subconscious mind. So when you put it up in a room or you put it on a door going into the room, it's like you're shifting the energy that moves into that space. A lot of people will use them on their altars too, and they will put pictures of people that they want to send healing energy to on the altar.
Mhm. Right.
They will put ideas of things that they want to manifest on the mandala, and that will help to manifest. And this was something else that I was talking to you about in our last meeting. It's almost like when you draw a mandala, it's almost like you're drawing a wormhole or
I,
like an energy connection to what it is that you want to create.
right. I was just thinking that like kind of like a gateway, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you put, an extra intention into your mandala, I feel like it has so much more power
Mm,
to it. So it depends on your intention behind the creation of it, right? Um,
absolutely.
it can help you in your meditation practice. So when
Mhm.
you focus in on the center of the mandala, you're actually focusing right in, and it can help you to relax your mind and fall right into a deep meditation. Um,
Yeah.
oh, also, it helps you in your dream state. So if you want to have certain types of dreams, which I didn't know this until this, I'm totally trying it. But if you want to invoke certain dream states, you can visualize and get an idea of the dream state that you'd like to see when you like. Sometimes it's problem solving, sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's whatever it is. If you want to manifest something, you can have that idea as you're drawing your mandala, and then as you're going to sleep, you're focusing on the mandala. And then you go to sleep, and apparently it will help you to create this in your dream state.
Wow.
And I've been doing a lot of different stuff about astral travel and dream state. And this is something that really piqued my.
Yeah, that is anything that helps with dreams, right? That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's also really it creates more energy and more of a gateway if you give gratitude to your mandala too.
Mhm.
It increases the energy connection in it. Um, and it can actually help you to connect to the universal wisdom that we have access to, right? So, again, it's like that wormhole. When we focus on it, we're allowing ourselves to have that flow of energy coming in.
Mhm. Mhm. Amazing.
Hmm.
Good.
Oh, and this one I really loved. You can do mandalas and make like a placemat, and you put your food on it, and it actually increases the energy of the food, or make coasters and have it your water sitting on it. It actually programs, and that's a show we should do sometime, is how water and food can hold different types of energy
Oh
vibration.
my goodness. Yes, just intention can do that. And you know that that just it just brought something to mind, Lynn. I'm just going to grab something show quickly. I want to show you guys what I've got there. You just go right ahead. I'm going to grab something.
So the mandala is a symbol that helps us connect to our higher self, or to someone else, or to a desired experience. So when we use mandalas in this way, we're actually creating a deeper connection to that person. Um, it encourages deep reflection, emotional healing. It relieves stress. And many of the patterns that we find that come out in the mandala creation, we can find in biology, chemistry, physics.
Mhm.
We find them in astronomy. There's so many different patterns and different things that we see come up when we're doing them. All right, so
Absolutely.
you wanted to share.
Okay, so what it made me think about when you talked about putting food and stuff on it, I got a set of cards, and they're called the healing code cards. And the reason I thought about them is because they I've used them putting water on them as well, right? And this is, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, you can.
So they almost look like, do you know what I mean?
They're like mandalas.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
they're all different little mandalas. And each one is for a specific thing. I think that's probably backwards, eh? So this one is the skin enhancer, right?
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah. So, and every one of them are for something different, and they all have, and they're live cards. They were for, I can't remember who was it made them now, but they're amazing. They're really, really good cards. And I just thought about it. So I thought I'd get them out and show you
that's amazing. And
for
those,
the minute, right?
yeah, exactly. And those are mandalas. Those
Yeah,
are all different
absolutely.
types of mandalas that carry different energy according to the healing that, the intention of the healing
That
behind
was
it.
put in them. Yeah, amazing, eh? So
Yeah,
they're everywhere. And I mean, like you said, Linda, everything in life, mandalas are circles, basically. They're described as a circle, and everything in life is a circle, right?
yeah,
Even right down to the cells in our body.
that's right.
So so cool.
Yeah,
So
so
cool.
awesome. So amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were talking about a technique where they use mandalas, chanting, and
Yes.
tantra and yogi, right? So it's like a
Yantra. And yeah. Yeah. So how what they do, it's I guess the three tools of this practice is the practice is called Tantra. And what it is a practice that brings together spirituality and sexuality. So, and what they use are mantras, which are chanting,
okay.
um, yantras, and mandalas. Now, a yantra is a specific type of mandala. Okay. And what it is the mandala are like the circles, and you can have everything in there, but the yantras, um, they're the ones that
It's
are
going to be a
the,
minute.
oh, sorry. Am I froze?
Hold on, Karen. Oh, frig.
You're back?
Back now. So sorry.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. So I'm not sure where we cut out.
We cut out right about, you were just starting. It's a sexual meditation that includes mandalas and
It's a right. It's a practice that brings together, and we just got a comment there. It's a practice that brings together spirituality and sexuality, and it has three tools. So the mantra, the yantra, and the mandala. So there's the regular mandala, and then the yantra, which is a specific form of the mandala, and it's basically made up of geometrical shapes, or often diagrams of like in Buddhism, there would be Buddhas, you know, and what it is it acts as an instrument of for tuning in with consciousness. So they're both, all three work together: the mantra, which is the chant, the yantra, and the mandala in this tantra practice, right?
Wow.
So it's interesting how it all comes around, right? And how you can use mandalas with chanting, and everything is so together kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's just also interesting. I know we say that all the time. We're probably tired of saying it. But if we go into the chanting, where the word chanting comes from is in French, chante, or in Latin, it's cantare.
Okay.
Okay. And they both mean to sing. Now, cantare is spelled Cantare, and chante is Chanter, and then comes up with the chant, right? So basically, all it is repetition of some kind of a melodic sound, right? So it can be anything. Often, though, it has two primary tones, one or two primary tones, right? Like you'll hear the Om chanting, right? Or there's another one that I wrote down here. It's called it's Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Om. I don't know how, if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's Om. No, I don't have my glasses on either. I might need them. Om Namaha 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 Namah Shivaya, and it means I bow to Shiva.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be just an example of a chant. But I mean, chantings existed since way, right? I mean, back as long as Buddhism existed, because Buddhism and the Hinduism are probably, you know, around the same time, right? So it's been one of the core practices. And then around the 9th and 10th century is when the Gregorian monks were doing the chanting with the solfeggio frequencies, right? And that's when you heard of the Om and all of those. And then what happened was around the Middle Ages, or the later part of the Middle Ages, so around, you know, the 1400s, maybe the end of the 1300s, the 1400s, the end of the 1400s, is when some of the religions started to use the chanting as singing. And you see it very often in the Catholic religion, where the priest will say something kind of in a melody, like and then the crowd will respond in a melody. It's almost like a chant as well there, right? Yeah. So it's quite interesting how things have changed, and how they've gone from, just not to say that they don't still use the chants of the one word or whatever, but how they've changed over the years. And then I started to, like you last night, I was going through more stuff, because we just continue going on and on and on, right? And I found this YouTube video. Oh my gosh, Linda. They call it a chant, but it's actually like a song, but it's a repetition again, right, of the same words. And really, if you think about, I can go on and on, right? Really, if you think about it, even the songs that we do today, there's always a chorus. That's right? So yeah. There's always that repetition that goes on, right? Yeah. So, but in the 13th century, there was a group, a religious group that they were called the Cathars. Mm-hmm. And I think they were the pre-Orthodox, so that they were practiced Gnosticism. So they were Gnostics. And there's on 2 YouTube videos that I saw. One was, and I wrote it down, I have to read it. It's a mysterious chant left for us by the Gnostic Cathars. And apparently these Gnostic Cathars were alienated and killed by religious powers in the 13th, 14th century. But this one song or chant is called, and I don't know how to pronounce it, it's called Lo, L-O. Second word is B-O-I-E-R. Boyer, I don't know how to pronounce it. Boyer. And the one that I saw was, the singer was Patrick Link. Now there's a few of them on there, but I found his was amazing. And you know how sometimes when you're doing a meditation or whatever, and you're getting downloads, you have your eyes closed and your eyes are going like this. As soon as I started to listen to that, that's what started happening.
Amazing.
So it was really, and it says right in there, it's a mysterious chant left for us, right? So anyway, I wanted to give that all that information in case anybody wanted to look it up to read it or to listen to it. And the other thing that about the Cathars, and I'm going to get back into chanting again, but the other thing about the Cathars is there's a YouTube video that's called The Spirit of the Cathar. I started to listen to it. It's a lecture given, and it talks about the information of lost knowledge. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I have to go back and listen to it. And it's at the Rudolf Steiner House in London in 2019. Okay. So just wanted to mention that in case anybody wanted to go in and have a listen to that, because it's really interesting. But all that to say that chanting is a very common practice used in spiritualism, right? I mean, it's believed to bring spiritual enlightenment.
Well, and I had a very profound experience. I went to, Terry Landry, right?
Yes.
I think I told you
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. I'll share
I know
it.
it very, very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very well. I know. I've been to some of his sessions.
Exactly.
Have you been to any of his sessions?
Oh, I've been to quite a few. Yeah. I love his
fantastic stuff. Yeah, he's amazing. I love his voice.
Yeah.
When he does the chanting.
Oh, yes.
It's moving.
It is moving. So I go to his.
We have to get Terry on here.
Yes, absolutely, we do. So I go to his one of his sessions. So he does different types of singing bowls and drums and chanting. And I had never been to a session like that before. This was my first time with him. And so we did a chant for about 10 minutes, the whole group. And as soon as the chanting stopped, I went right into this place, and like my guides were like, hold on. And we went right into this wormhole that moved me right into the center of this planet, where I was sensing all of the beings on this planet. And I could, like, anybody that I wanted to see, I could like feel them immediately.
Wow.
And then there was just a bunch of information that started flowing in about, path and all of this stuff. That was directly after my dad passed away. That's when I was really searching and like needing help kind of coping with it. But that was the most profound experience I had ever had. And I know it was the chanting.
Wow, that's so beautiful, Linda.
Yep. It was amazing. Yeah. A lot of healing that day.
Yeah, I like the one that he does. That's the Dragon's Tail. I think that's what it's called, the Dragon's Tail. That one is well, they're all powerful, I guess. So
I think this one was the Assyrian.
Oh yes, okay. I haven't been to that one.
Yeah. So amazing and very powerful, like very powerful. So you just have to let it in, right? And at first it feels a little bit strange because you're like kind of chanting, you don't know what you're saying, and then it's just such a powerful experience. So
yeah, for sure. And there's another singer as well online, Ajit, Ajeet, who does a lot of chanting, La Luna, and there's different songs that she does, and so beautiful. And if you meditate to them, they're amazing. But yeah, so you can either do the chanting personally, or you can do it in groups, right? Like this. So there's all kinds of ways. And the chanting itself, like we talked about, it can be a mantra, it can be a sacred text, a text from the Bible, or it can be the name of a god, or I mean, if you look at the Hinduism, they do a lot of chanting for Krishna, right? And Krishna is supposed to be, for anybody who's Catholic, who knows who Jesus Christ is, right? Krishna is supposed to be the 8th incarnation of Vishnu, I believe. And Vishnu in Hinduism would be the equivalent of the Jesus Christ in Christianity. Okay, so they have the Trinity as well. So they have Brahma, who's the creator, Vishnu, who's the son, and then Shiva, who is the Holy Spirit. And Shiva is the name you hear a lot, being the Holy Spirit in chants. So that's really interesting. And we also have somebody here who practices a lot of, or he did, I don't know if he still practices as much. I think he probably does, Kirtan Bhakti Yoga. And there's a lot of chanting in that. Now, I went to a session with him, Etienne, not sure how his last name, Berard, Berard. Anyway, he's a teacher, he's a ceremony facilitator, and he's also the coordinator at La Solitude. So he does, we did a lot of chanting there with him. And so it's also interesting. I'm probably getting ahead of what we've got on our notes, Linda, there. But a lot of times with chanting, we also use beads to count the chants, right? So the mala beads, in Hinduism, we use the rosary in the Catholic religion, right? And then there's other ones as well. I think it's further down in the notes, though, is where we are. But yeah, so it's all quite interesting. And then you can chant internally or out loud, right? Each one carries that potent energy. And then in Buddhism, way back when, they also used chanting as ways to help memorize things, which we do and study at schools, right? Like we do, we repeat chanting.
Like
pardon me?
Like our ABCs.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or I'm trying to think of something else, but I've definitely used singing and saying the same things a lot of times.
Over again.
Ella, definitely have done that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it brings that energy, right? So, and that's the other thing now. So is what we chant important?
I would say it is. Yes,
absolutely, right? I mean, the sound, and we talked about it before. How many times? I know I always bring up this same example, but my mother says so many times, you tell a child often enough that they're stupid, they're going to believe they're stupid. So if you're telling somebody over and over again, you're chanting that same thing over and over again, it's gonna be important what you say. It's gonna be important the words that you use, right? I mean, those sound waves that go in, whether you're speaking it or whether you're internalizing it, that's all energy that's affecting. So it has to be positive, for sure.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I love it.
So what happens when we chant then? As long as we're doing the positive things, right? Our mind is going to release, right? And we're going to have that positive energy, which is going to decrease our negative thoughts. It's going to decrease stress. And I mean, there have been studies that have been done. And we talked about this yesterday, Linda, as well, with the EEGs and the brain scans, and how, you know, and I actually, you can go ahead and tell the one that you were talking about if you like.
Well, they took the EEG machine and they attached it to the brain. And they just, measured what happens when you're not doing anything. So, you can see the regular, then they got them to chant anything, nothing that had to do with anything that had significance to them. And then what happened was there were certain parts around the center of the brain that would start to light up. But then they got them to chant things that had religious meaning or like spiritual meaning to them. And almost the whole center started to light up in pulse almost.
Yeah. I mean, that's proof, right? That chanting does something. And I looked at another study. It was really cute. It was, I don't know how many people they had together, but they were doing chanting. And while they were doing the chanting, they were actually they actually had negative pictures in front of the person. Okay. So they had them chant two different things. One was a spiritual phrase, and the other one was just chanting Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus. Okay. And while they were looking at this negative picture, and while they were looking at the negative picture and chanting Santa Claus, the blood pressure started rising at the same as what it would with a negative picture. Not as much, though, as what it would just looking at the negative picture.
Okay.
Okay. But then when they added something spiritual in the chant, those people would look at this picture, this negative picture, and there would be no reaction to the negative picture.
Amazing.
So, all about learning the emotions, being able to control, it's all there, right? It's all there. We have so many tools that we don't even realize we have, and a lot of times don't even realize how to use them.
Yep.
That can be so beneficial for our inner peace. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So the other things that happen with chanting is it can lowers your blood pressure, right? Relaxation. So anti-stress, it's great for meditation. So yeah. And pretty much every culture has some form of chanting, like we talked about, right? With the Christianity and the Catholics and the Anglicans and so much. It's crazy. And then there's seasonal chants. We talked about that as well, the seasonal chants. And you had mentioned how the indigenous people use chanting before they go to hunting.
That's
and right. There's so much seasonal ceremonial chants, offering chants.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. And I think every tribal community has their own chant, their own ceremonies that they do, that they chant, and have very similar things every time that invokes the goal or what they're trying to accomplish in those areas.
Right. And
So
just look. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Going into, like, they have one for even when you're going into manhood or womanhood, they'll have those ceremonies. The equinoxes, they'll do the ceremonies for those.
Yeah.
And each one has, like, even when you do a sweat, they're deep chants, like those are deep songs, but they're chanting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I was looking up last night on Buddhism. I know I told you I did a lot of, I don't know why I'm drawn to Buddhism. Like, I don't know why it's
Well,
always been, it's
I'm a
always,
Buddhist.
yeah, it's always been so interesting to me. I mean, from the time, when I was 24, when everything happened in the Catholic religion and all that all hit the fan, and I started looking into other different religions. Buddhism was always something that I really felt like I connected with. And I guess that's why I keep kind of going back to it. But
Did I ever tell you that I was baptized a Buddhist?
No.
I was with the Buddhist. I had mentors, and I went, and they did a
Wow.
whole ceremony and all of that. Yeah, I was baptized.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that. I was baptized as a Catholic when I was younger, but I was like, no, if I can choose, I'm definitely choosing Buddhism for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't see how no, that's okay. I don't see that's interesting. That's so cool, Linda. That's so cool. I was just looking, I saw that Patricia, who I don't think Patricia was on last week, and I missed her.
Yes. She was talking about the Atlantis cards. I'll get them.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, yeah, so I was looking at an example of chanting done in Buddhism. Okay. So what they do is they prepare their space, and then they prepare their mind and body by doing a short meditation. They have the chant written out on a card, probably a form, or this is what I read anyway. They probably don't once they know the chants, but if we were going to do something like that, you'd write the chant out on the card. You would raise the card above your head and bow to the chant. And then you ring a bell, and then you start doing the chant. And then once you were finished doing the chant, you again would raise the card above your head, bow, and ring the bell to signify the end of the chant.
Beautiful. Yes.
Isn't that like, that just really was like, wow.
I know that there's a lot. I used to attend a Buddhist temple in Mississauga, and they used to do a practice like that. I did that. I never got into it. I only went to the Buddhist temple maybe 2 times. But
And they baptized you after 2 times?
no, that was another
Oh.
time. I wasn't baptized by those people. No, I was baptized by it when I was living in Burlington. I was working with some Buddhists there, and
Okay.
I got baptized through them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then the other thing about chanting is the number of times, right? The counting.
Yes.
How many times do you chant? Like, is there specific numbers or whatever? So the Roman Catholics with the beads, which is where they count, right? It's there's 59 beads on a rosary. So they would do like 10 Hail Marys and then one Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, one Our Father, right? So there's a total of 59 beads. In the Hinduism, they do 108. I think it's Hinduism. They do 108 with the mala beads, right?
Wow.
And the reason they use the 108 is because they say, let me see what they said, it's a number of wholeness of existence. And it's also the number that connects the sun, the moon, and the earth. The average distance of the sun, the moon, and the earth is 108 times their respective diameters.
Amazing.
So yeah, like there's a reason for everything, right? It's so cool. And then the Orthodox Christians, they use knotted prayers, or knotted prayer ropes rather, right? So that they would count the knots as they went. And normally on those, there would be 100 knots. But some of the prayer ropes had 50 and some had 33, but on the normal one would have the 100, right? So it's
incredible.
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah.
So, Patricia, I do have those cards too. So these are Atlantean cards, and they're mandala cards.
Nice.
These were created by a lady who is from Moncton, New Brunswick. Her name is Kim. And she
is that Kim Doucette?
Is it Kim Doucette? Hold on.
Let me see.
It just says Kimspirational on
oh yeah, Kim ask Kim Doucette. Kim Doucette.
Yes, I believe she lives in Poland now, but she came it was I think a year and a half ago, talking about past lives. So I went to her big thing, and I got these cards. They're beautiful.
They are
beautiful. Yeah.
Wow.
Earthly helpers. Anyways, they're just this is what Patricia was talking about.
Okay, yeah, because she says she's purchased a set as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very powerful. Yeah, I would think they are very powerful. I'm trying to see if there's another
Slovenia. That's where she lives, Slovenia.
Yeah, Kim created them. Yep. Slovenia. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So Linda, do you do chanting yet? Because I know it's something that we're both being called to do, right? I think
I know. I feel like I need to know what I'm chanting. I can't just start chanting.
I'm the same. I feel the same. So there's a website that gives you a bunch of popular chants.
Okay.
And what they mean. So that's where I got that Om Namah Shivaya. Translates to I bow to Shiva, the supreme deity of transformation, who represents the truest, highest self. I honor the divinity within myself. So there's quite a few there. Hail to the jewel in the lotus, which is Om Mani Padme Hum. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but see, that's the whole thing. I'd need to have somebody pronounce it for me to make sure that I was pronouncing it right? Because God knows what I would say.
And I feel very drawn to the
Yeah,
indigenous chanting, right? Like I just love those tones. I love the melodies and it just really moves me inside, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. And I actually did, you talk about the indigenous, I actually did a small introductory course with Larissa. I don't remember her last name. I'm not really good with names. Larissa's her first name. She's absolutely beautiful. She does, she uses a drum. I still got my drum out here. She uses a drum and she uses it like this, right?
is she
So,
the one I seen her ad? I think she's got the drum, she does the shakers and like everything and
yes,
the
that's
too.
her. That's her.
I
So
freaking love that.
I started learning with her different things to do with the drum, right? So, and that's something that and maybe the chanting is going to come in. Maybe we're going to get Terry on the show and he's going to teach us how to chant. And
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, it's all so amazing.
It is. It is.
So I guess we kind of already did 2 shout outs this week already, right?
Yeah, well, we've been mentioning lots of people today, which I love because you know what? The more that we can spread the knowledge of what other people are putting out there, I mean, we all have a place, right? And we all specialize in our own way, and we deserve to be recognized for that. And I love that we can drop names.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so great. I mean, we have so many people and we're both living next door to each other. Everybody knows that we're neighbors and we live close to Moncton and the Moncton has got such a beautiful community of spiritual people, right?
It
And
really is.
there's just so many that like we couldn't even mention them all in one show, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, there's no way. Yeah.
No, but there's yeah, so and like you said, everybody has their place, right? And so, you know, anybody we mention, guys, like go check them out because there's always something. There's always something that somebody does that's going to resonate with you. Might not be one of them, it might not be the other one, but it's going to be one, right?
Well, and it's also about just being able to connect with different aspects of ourselves. You know, we may be resonate very much with somebody, and that may not resonate with you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, the next
And
time we may talk about somebody, you may be like, "Oh my gosh, that person, yes, like, ah, that person talks right to my soul." You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely, absolutely. And even different times, different
yeah,
people are going to resonate, right? Like somebody that you meet today might not resonate with you, but in 6 months down the road, you're at a different place, and
that's right.
and that might resonate at that point. There's so much evolving, there's so much changing, there's so much happening right now in the world, and it's happening so fast.
It really, really is.
Right? Like, I mean, we talked about it today, Linda. We talked about how what episode are we on? Oh my God, 17 already? Like I thought we were on 15 or 14 or whatever. Like it just time is just going so fast right now. There's so much happening.
You know, it's going fast when my daughter and her friend tell me that they think time is just going really fast. Because I know when I was a kid, it didn't feel like time was going fast,
I know. I
right?
know.
It felt like time was like a snailing along.
Yeah.
But the two of them, they're like, Mommy, really, time is going fast. I'm
Yeah.
like, I know, it is going fast. It's
Yeah.
and because we're learning so much and we're evolving so much and our energy is raising and there's just a lot of
So
internal
much
stuff
happening.
going on that and we're processing at such a fast rate and the more we process the faster we process and it's just like the energy is just raising higher and higher.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, you see it. If you look at the Schumann's resonance today on that disclosure, it's all white. Everything is white. So the energy coming in is amazing,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So
Time
and it's
is an
hard.
illusion. Time is an illusion and that's the other
Time is an
aspect too.
illusion, absolutely. But we have to have time here on Earth, right? We have to
Well, the concept of time,
the
like
concept of time.
they're they're
Exactly.
they're actually just different dimensions.
Yeah.
There's the now dimension, there's the past dimension, and then there's the future dimension.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
And it's hard to wrap your mind around it, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
In my
that's it.
classes, I talk a lot about the illusion of time and that it isn't real. And when you're on the other side, there is no concept of time.
Yeah.
There's no, but on Earth there is.
Yeah.
And it's all about the process of the life and death, and disconnecting from the being that you were before, and that's all tied into it. And so time is necessary for the evolution of the planet. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And it's also necessary for human beings here to have a time frame as to be able to, like we talked about before, to schedule meetings and to schedule this, because we have to work for a living and we have to make money and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
the
the
physical
physical.
responsibilities that we have to develop definitely
Absolutely.
ties
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. So my goodness, it's I don't know where the time goes when we're here in this show. It's like it's 3 o'clock already, 3:01 actually, and it's like we just got on.
Well, we did two topics today,
And we did
so
two topics today.
that makes things
Yeah,
go really fast. So
it does. So we would, I don't know if you have anybody else to shout out, Linda?
nope,
No, I think we did pretty well today, dropping a few names like we did. Um, Next week, big topic, lots of info.
yeah, it's
Are you
meditation.
going to say it or am I going to?
It's meditation. We're doing it on meditation. And there's so much. I mean, we could probably do like 6 episodes on meditation alone.
Oh my goodness, easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we'll try to keep it down to one.
Yeah. Try. We might have
We'll
to do
try to
part
keep
one
it
and
down.
part two, but
We'll see.
meditation
We'll
is a
see
big
how
one.
it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And guys, girls, whoever's watching, if you have any suggestions on topics, by all means, drop them in the comments. We would love to have some ideas. We're kind of trying to get things to flow like from one to the other, right? Which is where, with today with the mandalas and the chanting kind of go with the meditation, which is why we're going into the meditation next, so we're trying to get things to flow. But if you have anything that you're interested in that you would like to hear us talk about, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always open to ideas and different healing modalities that we can discover, and the history. Like, we just love to study. So
Absolutely. Always learning, always
always learning.
eternal students.
Eternal students, that's right. So please,
That's it.
if you have any suggestions, let us know for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that concludes our episode for today.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being there for the show.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again next week.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.